Hey, and welcome to the DeFuniak. We're all done our trip to Orlando, Disney World, and Universal Studios, and we are on our way back to California now. We're about 2 hours or so out of Orlando right now at our first charger at Lake City, Florida, and then we're going to be spending the night in Pensacola tonight. We'll have one other supercharging stop, that'll be in Tallahassee, so we'll get right to it. This is a real quick stop. We're probably going to grab some lunch for the road and then get right back on the interstate. So join us on this experience. Good morning and welcome to day 2 of our return road trip. We didn't get a whole lot of footage yesterday, partly because we were just completely mentally exhausted from the week-long experience at Disney and Universal. And after our first stop, we actually stopped at Tallahassee and then real quick at DeFuniak Springs, which we hit on the way in. Met a really nice gentleman who, brand new to the Tesla family, had just bought his S and was driving back to Arizona. So he was asking a lot of questions about supercharging and range, since we're basically taking the same route. So I wish him the best of luck and welcome to the Tesla family. So last night we stayed in Pensacola on the Santa Rosa Island, the little strand just south of the mainland. Unfortunately, we didn't get an ocean-looking room, but we did get a room that's actually looking at kind of the sound or the harbor. We'll turn the camera around in just a second, take a look at that. Tonight we're planning on stopping for the night in Lake Charles. There's a burger stop we want to try around New Orleans that has the Beyond Burger, the place is called Atomic Burger, and so we want to check that out as well. Here's a little bit of the view. So here is what we see from our third-story room at the Hilton Pensacola Beach. Quite a nice view to wake up to. Would have been a little nicer looking out towards the ocean, but naturally those rooms are a little more expensive, so we settled with the room looking inland, but it's quite a nice view having to land on the other side of the water. And here's one of the main reasons we went with the Hilton is they have a destination charger. They have one Tesla destination charger and then one Clipper Creek charger, the J1772 plug. There's a Chevy parked on this spot when we got here, and the destination charger was open. So here we go, fully charged, or at least a 90%, and we'll be on our way. And thank you for visiting Florida. Alabama state line. Declan's home state. Declan, we're in Alabama. So we made it back to Slidell. We were here before. Gonna plug it in, and we did notice when we were pulling in that since we were last here about a week ago, one of them, 1A, looks like it's broken. I'll turn it around so we can see. It was just like the one, I think it was in Mobile that we saw. It's basically broken off right around here. Hard to say if it was an accident or if somebody was just careless, or if it was intentional. Really hard to say, but even here on 1B you can see it's kind of like almost looks like it's been hit. But let's see, I'll look in the window. We are charging. It wants us to charge for 50 minutes for our only stop of the day to continue on to Lake Charles. We may stop in Baton Rouge, like I mentioned earlier, though, just to get a little extra range, because we're staying at a casino tonight that has one J plug, J1772 plug. So it's going to be a crapshoot, no pun intended, whether it's available or not. But we're going to sit here for probably 30-40 minutes, get a charge, and then hit the road. So we're back in Baton Rouge, gonna get just a couple minutes of charge, and we got some food, so we'll take a look at that, and then we'll get back on the road to Lake Charles. So the food we got was from Atomic Burger, and it's a couple of Beyond Burgers. Oh, let's see, they're actually open, so we'll get a shot in of what they look like. It's 2 patties. They come however you want. They look pretty thin, and we got them dressed as just the Atomic Burger, which kind of sounds like a typical burger, almost like an In-N-Out maybe. So we'll give it a try and let you know. So we're all finished with the charging, and we're finished with our burgers from Atomic Burger. They were fantastic. The patties were really, really thin. Thinner than I've ever seen any veggie burger made before. But my guess is they make all their burgers like that. And so there were 2 patties, and then just kind of the normal stuff, and whatever kind of special sauce they have. I think they call it AB sauce. It's kind of like a Thousand Island. Really, really good. I didn't even taste the typical Beyond taste in it because they had some seasoning on it. But all in all, I would absolutely eat it again, even though there's only 2 places in the country, and they're both here in Louisiana. So if you're passing through, certainly give them a try. All right, so we made it to the L'Auberge Casino in Lake Charles, and we were able to find the charger, and it is not in use. It is a GE charger, again a J1772 plug. So let me attach our handy dandy adapter and plug her in. We got blue. That's making some light. Said I'm not familiar. I just heard it click. And we're just waiting. Sounds like some people have been unsuccessful with this charger, but we'll take a look, see. Starting to make me nervous. It just clicked again. And no joy. So let's see what we can figure out. Just wanted to get a quick shot of the view from the room last night, or this morning rather. It was dark when we got here, at the L'Auberge Casino and Resort. This one's Lake Charles. We stayed in the one in Baton Rouge on the way out. Very, very large, expansive, like almost like a river pool where it's all connected and you can kind of wade wherever you want. From here it looks like it's all 4 foot deep, so maybe on a warmer day that would be fun. And then you can see the Louisiana countryside in the distance, a little bit of water. I can see a little bit of a large bridge over that way. Not sure what bridge, but I just wanted to give a quick look. Good morning and welcome to day 3 of the return road trip. So, tried several times to get the charger behind me to work. It never did start working. I talked to the front desk and they said they had a power outage or a light outage earlier in the day, and that could have been contributing, but there's also been a lot of check-ins on PlugShare of it not working. So I did end up running over to the Lake Charles Supercharger last night, which is the same one we stopped at on the way out, one with Sonic right next to it, and there's a Buffalo Wild Wings in the same parking lot. So I topped off over there last night and then just moved it back over to the garage, tried to plug it in hoping it would work, and it never did work last night. But we're working our way towards somewhere in Texas today. We haven't decided. We might stop in Ozona again or somewhere near Junction, but we'll just see how the day feels. And we're going to go ahead and get on the road. All right, we made a quick stop in Channelview again, 10-15 minutes at best, because our next stop's only about 90 miles away, and it has us going to let's see, Columbus, Texas. We'll get there with 24%. That will make that a lunch stop as well. Once us there about 25 minutes. Also charging is actually that nice gentleman I was talking about back in Florida that just bought his Tesla and he's driving it back to Arizona. So we see his car here because we recognize it. Wish him the best luck on his trip. Didn't see him, but if he happens to stumble across the channel, I hope you're enjoying the trip so far. So we're currently working our way through sunny Houston, Texas, and traffic on the interstate's crawling at 35 because the rain is just pelting down. Add traffic on the freeway, which kicks up the extra water, and visibility is like maybe 200 feet in front of us. So we tried to stop in Columbus, Texas. They have 6 chargers, 2 of which have a bunch of red tape over it. So those are down. And then there were 2 cars already plugged in, which is why it said 4 of 6 in use, or 2 of 6 available. The first one we plugged into capped out at like 25 kilowatts, so it wasn't charging fast at like 100 miles an hour. So in the time it took us to run to the restroom, one of the cars left, so we jumped over to that one, and it went up a lot. Sorry, a semi-truck just started to swerve into the lane a little bit. I am not driving right now.
Why is he honking at me?
I have no idea. Apparently, they're honking at us now, too. I guess they wanted to get over in the far left lane, which there's signs all over the place that say trucks, no left lane. But anyway, so we moved over, started charging better. The navigation wants us to stop in Flatonia again, which is where we stopped on the way out here, and it's only 30 miles away because our next stop to Junction was going to be 230 miles. So it wanted us to kind of make both stops. So we only spent 5 or 10 minutes there, and now we're on the road again. If you don't have to stop at Columbus, I would probably recommend bypassing it. But if you have to, then yes, it's there. But it's so far, I'd say that's probably been the worst stop that we've had this entire trip. So we've been traveling westbound. We're now at San Antonio, and we're at 297 watt hours per mile. We've been varying between probably 65 and 75 miles an hour, but we've been having a pretty strong headwind the whole way, so that wind has really been killing the range and the efficiency. But we're gonna top off here in San Antonio and then continue working our way down the 10. All right, we made it to Junction, Texas. It only wants us to be here for 10 minutes, so we can continue on to Ozona, Texas, where we will be staying for the night. If we tried to make it right now, we'd have minus 4%. So we'll do a quick little charge up and then get on the road. Once again, I was going about 77 most of the way. Speed limit was between 75 and 80, and it varied going through San Antonio a bit for traffic. Plus the wind, that gave us 334 watt hours a mile. So a little bit higher than normal, but it's to be expected when there's a wind that you're driving into, as well as if you're doing 77 on the interstate. Good morning and welcome to day 4 of the return trip. We're all done up in Ozona, packed up, breakfast is done. It's a frigid 28 degrees out this morning, so we plugged in the car this morning to get a little extra battery and to warm up the car a little bit so we didn't have to do it purely on battery. And we're just about to unplug and start heading our way back down I-10. All right, we're back at Fort Stockton, showing 323 watt hours per mile. It's been quite cold on the drive. It's up to 48 now, but it was below 30 when we left. And out here, there's still some chargers with the signs on saying that they're out, but I'm pretty sure most of these are still working. So we'll plug in, and I'll check in on PlugShare to show that we were here and successfully charged. So we just got to Van Horn, Texas, 282 watt hours per mile. Much better, had a little bit of a tailwind it looked like, and we drove a little slower. And just as we were trying to plug in, or as we were backing in, there's a Model X charging, and they said 4A and B are not working, completely dead. But they were able to move down and find some, so hopefully the 3A or B will work. So let's go take a look. All right, I just plugged in 3A. I got blue. Let's hope we get some green. And we're green. All right, we just made it to the El Paso Supercharger. 130 miles and 220 watt hours per mile. Much more efficient on that leg. I don't think we're going quite as fast, and then probably the wind helped. After this, it wants us to continue on just to Willcox. We're going to throw a quick stop in Deming, New Mexico, just to get a little extra, because we're not in a super rush today, and we're going to get to our hotel early. So we're just going to top off up at this El Paso Supercharger, which we stopped on the way out, and then get right back on the road. So we made it to Deming, New Mexico. We also stopped here on the trip out. Since the last charge, 91 miles, 23 kilowatt hours, and 248 watt hours per mile. So we're back in the range that we generally like to see when we're out driving. So we're gonna do a quick charge here and then on to Willcox for our stop overnight. All right, so we made it to Willcox, our stop for the night. We have 47 miles of range estimated remaining. We were driving at 264 watt hours per mile, 35 kilowatts, and we drove 134 miles. It is interesting because it says 6 of 8 stalls available. I have not plugged in yet, and as you can see, there is nobody here, so I'm not really sure why it thinks 2 stalls are in use. And I think it might have said that on our way out here as well. But we're going to turn in for the night, and tomorrow should be the last day. All right, day 5 and the final day of the road trip. Culminates 3 weeks to Orlando and back. We are just about to leave Willcox, Arizona. We've got a few stops on the way back to Riverside. We should be there hopefully before it's even dark, but it may be dark, no big deal. Probably the same stops as the way out here, but we'll check in at all of those stops. Join us on the rest of this experience. All right, we just hit I-10 on the way back. We've got 515 total miles. It says 8 hours and 7 minutes to go. Getting us home, it says 6:22, but we're an hour time zone behind Arizona right now, so it'll be 5:22-ish, give or take. We're going to be getting back into Southern California right with the traffic, so that might delay our arrival a little bit. But it's got our stops at Casa Grande again, which is the one where we actually had to wait in line for. So hopefully when we get there around noon, maybe it's not too bad, but it's also lunchtime. And then Ehrenberg, Arizona, and that one's a level 3 charger, or a generation 3 charger. So hopefully we can charge at 800 or 900 miles per hour. We'll see what that tops out at. And then that looks like the last stop it wants us to do before we get home with 12%. So we did skip Casa Grande because as you can see right now, 0 of 6 available, which was just how it was on our way out to Florida. So we're continuing on to Buckeye instead. Here's Casa Grande. Here's us right now going through Phoenix. And then there's the Buckeye stop. And then after Buckeye, I think it still wants us stopping in Ehrenberg, which will be that high-powered one. So that way, hopefully we can see just how quickly it'll charge us. So we made it to the Buckeye stop. We have 43 estimated miles of range left. And what we have... We drove a little conservatively so we could get a little further. 207 watt hours per mile, 47 kilowatts, and we drove 224 miles. So it wants us to charge here for about 20 minutes and then continue on to Ehrenberg. All right, we've made it to Ehrenberg. It's right on the border of Arizona and California. It's exit 1. 276 watt hours per mile, an hour 37. That we got, here we go, 32 kilowatt hours and 116 miles. This will be our last charge before we get home. It's only about 170 miles left to go. And this is a version 3, so I'll come back in and we'll see what we end up topping out at. All right, and we're plugged in. There's only one other car here charging, but the version 3s don't share chargers. So it seems to be topping off around about 140. It's creeping up. Let's see if it takes a second run up. No, it's still going though. maybe right around 160, 684 miles an hour. Not too bad. Already 6 miles added since I've plugged it in about a minute and a half ago. And it's right in the parking lot of, there's Best Western right there, Wendy's, Flying J. Here's the Flying J right over here. And it's right off the freeway. You can see the cars going by over there. And for those who haven't actually seen version 3s yet, the cord is much, much smaller. And if you notice, they don't have them numbered like 1A, 2A, 3A, anything like that. So they're all individuals. All right, so we're pulling into the garage now, and this last little part of the trip, 175 miles at 277 watt hours per mile at 49 kilowatt hours. And for this entire second half of the trip, 2,540 miles, 677 kilowatt hours used for an average of 267 watt hours per mile. So the entire trip, a little over 5,000 miles. I need to compare the trip there from the trip back and see which was actually more efficient and which one used more power. All right, so we're all settled back into the house, and then I've got screenshots of the two legs of the trip. The first one out there and then the one back. The one out there will actually also include like driving around Orlando, driving to the theme parks, but they're pretty close to similar distances. So on the way to there, we have it at 2,573 miles, and we started it at the first supercharger, which was probably about 150 miles from home. So maybe we'll call it 2,700 miles for the first half, for a total of 665 kilowatt hours. Again, that's at the without that extra 150 miles. And 259 watt hours per mile. So that was for the first leg of the trip out. For the return trip, as I mentioned earlier, 2,540 miles at 677 kilowatt hours at 267 watt hours per mile. So what it shows is going to Florida was actually a little bit more efficient than coming back from Florida. And that's probably because we went a little bit faster on the way home. We were a little bit more motivated to get home quickly and didn't really sightsee as much as we had intended to. All in all, the trip was fantastic. It was a nice break from work, of course. I would definitely do it again. Next time we go to Disney, we'll definitely fly though, so that way we can get there quickly, do the parks, and then get back. But I absolutely recommend road tripping in a Tesla. There was no issues at all. At no point were we ever concerned we were going to run out or have any kind of issues. So I appreciate everybody for joining us on this experience. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up below. Please consider subscribing to our channel. And then if you do, you ring the bell below, and that'll give you notifications of all of our future videos. And make sure to join us on our next experience.